I will piss you off by being a good student. This is one of those high school teachers who hated me specifically stories. I apologize in advance, as this might be long. The story spans 2 years, and I should say that I am Indian, and this story happens in India. I think it's relevant. Let me introduce you to my high school chemistry teacher. This savant straight up memorized the textbook and spewed it out. That was the extent of her knowledge. Of course, she was extremely adept at beating around the bush whenever good students asked her questions, and according to her, she genuinely was answering them. But when students like me asked questions, I was a fucking dumbass, she had a standard answer, and I quote, "If you would actually listen to my lecture, you wouldn't have any questions." And get this, when students like me don't ask questions, she had a response for that too, and I again quote, "Do you have any questions? Of course you don't. You would have doubts only if you had listened." Okay. She has also on multiple occasions singled me out and called me dumb, hopeless, etc. She asked me to quit the sciences and go do something on the humanities side because that's where the dumb people like you should go. I actually believed her. So that was 11th grade chemistry for me. Too dumb to understand most concepts. Ask questions equals I lose. Don't ask questions equals I lose. Called beyond repair on a regular basis, the works. This was in the midst of several behavioral issues I had. I was obnoxious and genuinely annoying, but only in her class. I barely scraped by in chem. But after my finals, I found out that she personally went to the school principal, and recommended that I don't get promoted to the 12th grade. And because she was in charge of my class, she even told the principal that every other teacher had a major problem with me, which I later found out to be completely false. So I almost repeated 11th grade. My parents had to speak to the principal and all the other teachers except this lady, and got them to convince the principal to let me through. I found out that I would have the same chemistry teacher for my 12th grade too. So I start plotting my revenge. In between my 11th and 12th grade, I had about a month or 2 off where I took chemistry tuition outside in secret. I had a wonderful tutor who was very patient with me and made sure I understood a certain concept before moving on to the next one. I was significantly ahead of the curve when 12th grade started, but none of my peers knew. I pretended as if I was hearing everything for the first time. I was watching, waiting for her to give me one of her standard dialogues. The first week of class went by without a hitch. I even sat in the first row just so I could stare at her face and make her uncomfortable. Ooh, but the first class of the second week, it came. "Do you have any questions?" "Of course you don't." And I said, "I don't have any questions because I understood everything that was taught." And she goes, "Oh yeah, so answer this." And she asked me a bunch of shit that I knew like the back of my hand at that point, and I was still taking chemistry tuition after school. And the look on her face when I answered them was priceless. She took a long pause and said, "Sit down," and just continued teaching. She kept glancing over at me, and occasionally I could tell me staring at her without blinking was making her uncomfortable. I loved every second of it. Oh, and remember when I said I was Indian? The stereotype that Indians nodding their head for everything is actually pretty accurate. An entire class nodding along with the teacher is quite normal. It is a sign that you've understood whatever is going on, and if you don't nod, it is assumed that you're lost. So whenever she finished a sentence with an "understood" or "are we clear," everyone nodded, but not me. My stare was continuous, unwavering, and intense, and it truly did make her uncomfortable. She started singling me out, less and less, and she tried surprising me with questions a few times, but I was able to answer them. She eventually left me alone. I didn't, though. I kept staring into her soul, trying to set it on fire with my mind. This was the extent of my petty revenge. But wait, there's more. She got fired midterm because none of the other teachers liked her, and they all complained to the principal. Our class got a very good and actually qualified chemistry teacher after that. Oh, and I'm too dumb for the sciences? Well, I'm going to Georgia Tech this fall for a master's in bioinformatics. So fuck you, you stupid bitch. Too long didn't read? Mean teacher was mean and called me dumb, so I took private tuitions because I'm not dumb, okay? I became not dumb, that's what I did, okay? Then I rubbed it in her face by answering all her questions and staring at her and making her uncomfortable every chance I got. Oh, and she got fired later. The top comment reads, "This story was one of my favorites so far. Petty revenge through bettering yourself. I cry every time. Like this video if you cry every time."